My dad used to disappear into the desert for weeks at a time, and he was never allowed to tell us where he went. He had a master's in aerospace engineering and was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. During his career, he worked as a flight test engineer on the F-117 Nighthawk stealth program. You know, that sharp, alien-looking plane that basically vanished on radar. That job meant he was regularly flown out to the desert, as he used to say. He never gave details. No base names, no specific locations, just the desert. He'd be gone for days or weeks at a time, and whenever he came back, he never talked about what he'd seen or done. Not a word. I always knew there were things he couldn't say. But one day, when I was about 20, I worked up the nerve to ask him something directly. We were sitting on the back porch, and I said, "Dad, be honest with me. Is there alien technology at Area 51? He paused, didn't smile, and didn't laugh it off. Just looked out over the yard for a few seconds, then said, "Son, people underestimate the intelligence of humans." And that was it. No follow-up, no explanation. To this day, I don't know exactly what he meant, whether he was dismissing the alien rumors or hinting that the stuff they were working on was so advanced, it might as well have been alien. Either way, I've never forgotten that moment. It gave me a whole new respect for what people are really capable of, and for the secrets we'll probably never hear. My uncle was one of the smartest people I've ever met. He had this quiet, unassuming brilliance about him. Never boastful, but always the person in the room who knew more than he let on. He earned a PhD in physics and spent most of his career working for NASA during the 1970s and 80s, a golden age of space exploration. While he wasn't an astronaut himself, he was deeply involved in research and development for several space missions, including some that are still classified to this day. His work focused on propulsion systems and orbital mechanics, things most people only hear about in science documentaries or see in sci-fi movies. Growing up, I always looked up to him, not just because of how smart he was, but because of how down-to-earth he remained despite all his achievements. He could break down complex scientific ideas into simple concepts that even a kid like me could understand, and he never made anyone feel dumb for asking questions. When I was a teenager, probably around 14 or 15, I finally worked up the courage to ask him something that had been floating around in my mind for a while. Did we really land on the moon? I half expected him to laugh or dismiss the question outright. I mean, it's the kind of thing people argue about online or bring up at parties just to be provocative. But he didn't scoff, didn't roll his eyes. Instead, he gave me this weary, knowing smile, like he'd heard the question 100 times before and said, "Kid, if you knew how many people it takes to fake something like that, you'd realize it's easier to just go to the damn moon." Did you know Canada is home to some insanely deep lakes? Let's dive into the top 5 deepest lakes in Canada. Number 5, Lake Superior. At 1,332 feet, Lake Superior is not just deep, it's also the largest freshwater lake by surface area in the world. Number 4, Great Bear Lake. Next up, Great Bear Lake in the Northwest Territories, plunging to 1,463 feet. It's the largest lake entirely in Canada. Number 3, Adams Lake. British Columbia's Adams Lake is crystal clear and scary deep at 1,522 feet. Number 2, Quesnel Lake. Another BC beauty. Quesnel Lake hits a depth of 1,677 feet, and it's one of the deepest fjord lakes in the world. Coming out on top as number 1, Great Slave Lake, and the deepest of them all, Great Slave Lake, dropping down to a jaw-dropping 2,014 feet. That's deeper than some ocean areas. Which one would you swim in? Or maybe not? Like and follow for more. It happened about 18 years ago. I was running a small part-time IT service consulting company and had a gelato company as a client. They had an urgent server problem, so I pulled into their parking lot in my beat-up '93 Camry, went in, and got to work. While I was in the office working, their tow company showed up and asked if the Camry was a customer. The person who let me in the back to work on the server said, "Nope, he's not a customer," while mixing stuff. I remember hearing him say that from the other room. After a few minutes, another employee comes in the office and tells me that my car is being towed. Of course, I head out back to see my car on the truck and let the driver know I'm working at the business. The driver looks at me and says, in 20 years, he's never dropped a car on his truck without being paid, and it's not happening today. That will be $200. I said, that's cool. Just give me a printed receipt so I can bill the owner of the business the invoice amount plus $100 in materials markup and $60 for the time I've spent dealing with you. This will make money for both of us today. The dude just glared at me while he dropped my car, then got in his truck and hauled ass. I've seen what I'm certain is the phenomenon that the legend stems from. I've seen this on Okanagan Lake as well as further north in BC on Kaneem Lake. It goes like this. On the first occasion, my wife and I were out on Kaneem Lake. Nice day, broken clouds, the water is quite calm. This lake is large and had little traffic on it that day. We'd seen maybe 5 or 10 boats over the course of the day. It was late afternoon. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught what appeared to be something in the water moving towards us. Fast. It was about 120 meters off. It looked like 3 humps with a bit of an intermittent wake in front. My blood froze. I was utterly terrified and completely convinced that something huge was moving towards us just under the surface. It passed us, maybe 50 meters off to the north. As it passed, it became clear what it was. It was an extremely rare and odd wave pattern. Waves appeared to be coming from 2 or maybe 3 directions, simultaneously converging in one spot. I can't explain entirely, but as the wave passed us, it was completely obvious that what we were seeing was just a wave pattern and nothing else. I spent a lot of time on that lake, and I've only seen it happen there twice in 35 years. The second time it happened, about 10 years apart, I had the same immediate reaction. I was terrified, then relieved. Later, I saw the same phenomenon in Okanagan Lake, once from lake level from shore, and once again from the old West Side Highway around about Fintry. I had pretty much the same reaction on both occasions. It's utterly convincing. Had I not had the good fortune to have seen it pass by us so closely on that first occasion, I'm sure my story to you would be one of absolute certainty that the beast exists. I really don't think it does. I strongly suspect sightings are what I've described.